If you had just one chance to convince a hesitant seller to trust you to sell their property at a discount, what would you do and how would you do it? Welcome to another episode of Fund Flip Repeat. I am your private hard money lender, Joel Cadlick, and today I have with me Mark Gabryel. Super excited to have you on, Mark. Mark is somebody who has seller conversations all the time, so he's very experienced with it. And man, we're just gonna have a great conversation exactly about that and what that looks like for you, man. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, man. I've seen you around in the market for a long time. I'm excited to spend some time with you, maybe even learn a little bit from you, see if I can be of service to all the listeners. So I'm ready. Let's hop into it.
Awesome, man. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. So seller conversations is a big topic. We hear so much about it. There's a lot of content about it as well, but you're somebody who is boots on the ground. You see it, you hear it, you have those conversations, you feel the emotion. So I just think it's going to be super helpful for anyone listening or the audience to kind of get that perspective from you because you are, an experienced real estate investor buying and selling homes all the time. So one quick question to kind of kick it off, man, is like, how do you identify a motivated seller? And what are the key questions you would ask them to uncover, motivation or what their situation is looking like?
Yeah, so we do things a little differently than a lot of other big wholesalers in the arena. Obviously the last 10 years or so, you got the advent of virtual investing and things like that. And
Right.
that worked all fine and good until we got to post-COVID. And we started noticing a trend change where people wanted more direct action, direct interaction, because so many people, they were used to getting these really low offers or way too high of offers and people canceling. The people hadn't even seen the house. So we decided to make a pivot and that we were going to make it a purpose that we were going to get in the house with them. We're going to get belly to belly. We're going to talk to them, ask them questions.
Love it.
When I go on a seller appointment, this is where I'll answer the question. I don't ask them anything about the house. We go through discovery process and the goal is at least 45 minutes on a discovery process. And that's even before I say a word about the house. I'm just talking to them. I tell them I want to get to know them. I want to know their situation. I'll ask them, why sell their house, questions along those lines. And like I said, our target range, we're looking for 45 to 60 minutes before we even get to the house at all. And if they obviously walk in the house, they're going to start talking to you, asking to show you around the house. So I forego that whole process and we skip that. We want to get that rapport built, get belly to belly with them and see what it is we can do to be of service before we get to any of that.
Wow, that is leading with gold right off the bat. Man, I love everything that you said. I think that's so critically important because what I'm hearing from you, Mark, is like it's a very easy business, especially in this model, in this niche, to treat it like a transaction versus a relationship. And ultimately what the sellers want, as you and I know, is certainty. And they want to do business with people they know, like, and trust, just how we are wired. And you going in there and spending time and actually getting to know them on a personal level not only helps build that rapport, but when you're approaching it genuinely like you do, you're able to actually identify what's the problem I can actually ultimately help solve for these people. It's not just a transaction, because a lot of times it doesn't come back to money in these seller conversations. So man, I love to hear that. That makes a ton of sense. So yeah, that's great. I mean, you're going into the house, you're not even looking at the house, you're talking directly to them. That's, I think that's different. And I think that says a lot. So like, what's your go-to strategy for handling objections with sellers who are hesitant to sell or, might throw an objection your way? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, a big one that a lot of people bump into is obviously they'll say, well, my friend that's a real estate agent says it's worth this, or, my cousin's a real estate agent and they said it would be worth this. And I'm like, okay, great, explain to me why that is. And then they'll go through their process. And this is a way you can use them talking about their price in your discovery process as well to find what the motivation is. So they'll go through that. They'll explain why they think it's worth that. And then I'll say, okay, well, it sounds like you've got that pretty well sorted out. If that's a good option for you, I would expect you to do it. Why don't you do that? Why are you not doing that now? And we only ask the question why very specifically because that puts a barrier up. So we ask them, why aren't you doing that? And it makes them feel defensive. And then we use that as a way for them to build a little bit of negative association with them going with an agent. And what they'll do is they'll either start defending why they're not going with an agent, which is what we want to find out, why they're not, because that's going to tell you what the real situation is. Maybe they got tax liens they don't know about. Maybe they have liens. Maybe it's going through probate and it's not done yet and they can't sell it yet. And that's where you can come in and help them get through the probate process. A lot of agents won't do that. People like me can help with that, and we have the resources to do it. Most agents, they want to get in, they're going to get their pictures taken, they want that quick conventional sale. But asking questions like that and only bringing the word why into it, if you're trying to draw a negative association, will help them find a way to explain to you what the motivation is.
Bam, man, that is so good. There's a lot actually to unpack there too, just with what you said. I mean, it's so spot on because you're saying it sounds like, right? So you're kind of labeling what they're saying back to them. You're handling an objection with the question. The thing I think where people get hung up on a lot is there's so many objections. How am I going to be able to be prepared for all of them? You just simplified it perfectly. It's like you handle objection by asking a question. And you don't have to shy away from like, oh, well, if I mention a realtor, maybe they will go with a realtor. Everybody knows a realtor. So you don't have to shy away from like, don't list it with a realtor. You know, it's like, well, why, like you said, exactly. Like, why don't you sell it with a realtor? Like, what does that look like for you? That's really, really good, man. I love it.
Yeah, and also to see them, a lot of people think, it is a transactional business, what we do, flipping houses. So
Sure.
at the end of the day, it comes to that. But what almost everybody overlooks on this is they just see it as a nuts and bolts transaction. We're dealing with people, though. These are real people that have
Yes.
real lives. Maybe their mom died in it 2 weeks ago and they're hung up on that. You know, to them, this is not a transaction to them. To them, this is their life. So you have to find a way to relate to them person to person, understand what the real issue is, and then that way it can help you get to the bottom of how you can be a solution. Because really, at the end of the day, you want them to go with who's going to be the best solution. And if that's going to be you, then you have to put yourself in the best position possible to be a solution for them.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, dude, it's like it might be the most difficult situation and painful situation that they're going to in their life. You know, maybe someone passed away or divorce or behind on taxes or going to lose the house. It's like that's a very sensitive and very emotional state to be able to walk into and then actually be able to provide a solution that makes sense where they, you know, that's a good solution for them. And hopefully, you know, you're not running into them again and they're not having another really, really big, painful problem that needs to be solved. But yeah, I 110% agree. Really agree.
Yeah.
So, can you share a memorable story of like a seller conversation that led to a successful wholesale deal?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you one of my favorite deals we've ever done.
Oh, bam. I love it. These are the good stories right here.
We had a seller come to us, referred to us through a contact of ours, who is they're an end of life financial advisor. So they run into these
Mm,
situations all the time of people downsizing or going into a nursing home. This particular seller, she had the property that was her parents'. They died 20 years ago and she's been living in it. No mortgage. She's been paying the taxes. She needs to sell it because she's paralyzed from the waist down and she's a hoarder. She doesn't know what to do. Her neighbor comes from across the street to,
wow.
help push her around in her wheelchair. So basically, it was a situation similar to that. We spend all the time going through the discovery, finding out what the situation is, and then the goal there wasn't even to get the transaction completed. The goal is, how do we help her get through the probate process? How do we help her get a probate attorney? How can we walk her through the process with that? And once she
Okay.
got to that, I mean, think about this. Hoarder house, lady lives in there. She's paralyzed. She doesn't even own the house. Do you know how many agents would touch that deal to list it on the market? She can't even sell it,
Yeah.
right? Zero.
None.
I mean,
Zero.
you might find some hungry ones that would, who, they get paid on a commission basis, and that's a lot of front end work for something you don't even know you're going to get money on. So
And we're talking
that's
months
one
and months too.
situation. Yeah, it was. It was a 3 month process to get through probate because you have to wait and see if any errors are going to show up. Maybe they do, and the whole thing is busted if errors show up at probate that want to contest. And this one we managed to make it through with no errors contesting. But yeah, man, it can be dramatic and sometimes it's a little bit emotionally taxing, to take
Sure.
all those
Absolutely.
people's pain on yourself and try to see yourself in their shoes. But we've helped quite a few people in bad situations, and it can be pretty fulfilling as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it's super rewarding. And, you know, one thing that like if someone doesn't understand wholesaling as far as the rewarding aspect goes, it's like you've never done a transaction where you've helped someone out in like some of these most difficult situations to where you're sitting across the table from them when there's like tears running down their face because you literally can see the burden like come be lifted off of that weight becoming lifted off of their shoulders. And you know that's why I know you do it. That's why we do it. So it's doing it for the right reasons. And I love that you use the word discovery too, because honestly, what you're doing is you have to kind of put your detective hat on sometimes, and discover and uncover what the pain is, what the actual problem is, or probate, right? There's lengthy process, figure that out, do attorney stuff, maybe track down heirs. I mean, so I really like that you use that word discover. I think that's spot on. So that's like a positive one, but have you ever had a tough seller conversation that didn't go as planned, that went south, and maybe it was a great learning lesson for you?
Yeah, I mean, our strategy is with sellers is, let's say we have a seller under contract and they decide, maybe their cousin wants to buy it from them. Maybe they found their own buyer that's not you and somebody that wants to pay more and they're going to live in it. Fine. Our policy is we always want what's best for our seller. So
Love it.
if it's not best for them, it's not best for us. So for example, we have one in Catoosa we're working on right now, and the seller is selling us. He's going to auction. We've got all the payoffs. We've stopped the auction and everything. What do you know? A neighbor calls him and offers him more money.
Mm,
So another policy we have is we don't do memorandums. That's one thing we definitely don't do because we don't want a cloud title. Our main purpose is to be the service to the seller. And if we're not the best option, then we wholeheartedly encourage them to go another way. So in that case, that's what we're doing. We're trying to facilitate them working together with, their neighbor that's going to try to buy it on a conventional loan. And we just tell them, we want what's best for them. So that's our policy when it comes to things like that. We don't lock them into hard binding contracts. If they want to go with us, great. If not, I tell them, there's thousands of other houses. Let me see how I can help you get your situation sorted out regardless.
yeah. Yeah. I love that, because like the same thing there is, unfortunately, there are situations, or there might be companies that do kind of like, cloud title and handcuff the deal. But ultimately at the end of the day, if they don't want to sell for you, then sell to you, then that's just not going to be the best fit. So like, I love the way you guys approach it with your values and how you're, leading with that, with the seller in mind and what's best for them. I think that speaks absolute volume, and especially that you're local. You mentioned, belly to belly, how important that is, and just your approach in the house in that discovery process of spending time with them, that 45 minutes. You're not just in and out offering an offer, but you're connecting with them and actually getting to understand them. That's so good, man. So what mistakes do new wholesalers make when talking to sellers, and how would you recommend they can avoid those mistakes in those conversations?
Main one that because I try to give the game away. I figure it'll come back to me one way or another. I'm kind of like you. I
Yeah.
don't like to hold on. I don't like to hold on to things, make it top secret. One thing that a lot of people that are attempting to transact with the seller is they're assuming motivation levels based on price given. And, a lot of times people know they
Mm,
have a bad situation. And all they've seen is the Zillow price. And really, it's going to take that long discovery process, the effort of knowing them, understanding them, to build a rapport, to explain to them, maybe that's not why, maybe that's not really the price. Because price is a deceiver. And if somebody is in a bad situation that it's going to be complex, maybe that's not really what it's worth because of issues like we're talking about probate, liens, foreclosures. Maybe it would be good for them if they could get that high dollar market value, but the foreclosure auction's in 2 weeks and it's not going to happen. So assuming intent without going through that discovery process and getting in their living room, making offers over the phone is another one. We don't make offers over the phone. As a matter of
mm,
fact, we don't make
okay.
offers at all. Our policy is we don't make offers at all. And if you want me to get into that, I can
So
explain a
good.
little more on that. But
A
that's just a
hundred
couple
percent.
things
I
that we
definitely
do.
want you to get into that, man. I love that. What does that mean? You don't make offers. So how are you buying houses, man? You're not making any offers. What is that about?
Yeah, so the phrase I'll use to explain this to people is they'll give me a price or they'll ask me what my offer is. And I'll say, Joel, come on, man. If I was in the business of making offers on houses, I'd be broke. I'm in the business of buying houses. So what's it going to be?
Man.
And I use that to get the first price out. That's normally after I've already got the first price out of them. And what I try to do is I try to get two prices out of them before I even interact with their price. And, they'll say, well, we just
Damn.
want a number. And I say, Joel, one of the reasons we're able to do so many transactions and purchase as many houses as we are is because we try to make it a more collaborative environment where we can work with you and we find your needs and we tailor what we're going to do around that. So if we were just in the business of driving around giving offers, you could call 100 people like that. That's not us.
It's so clear, man. Just this quick 15 minutes that we've been on this so far. It's like how you are set apart. And I'm just saying that because genuinely, like, it's really, really, really good advice. And anybody listening, like, please listen to this. Just gold nugget after gold nugget after gold nugget here. So, I mean, aside from seller conversations and how that looks, like, what if someone's brand new looking to start, or, maybe have a couple deals under the belt? Like, what's some advice you would give them? Just, it could be advice in any aspect. Doesn't have to be seller conversation, but in general, what kind of advice would you provide?
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, I'm not very credible. I haven't done a lot of deals. What am I supposed to do to seem credible? The only thing you can do to seem more credible is it's not experience getting through the transaction, it's experience talking to the seller. So obviously phone time is a big one. We have a benchmark for how many minutes we want to be on the phone with somebody. We don't want it to be a lead manager. We want it to be the exact person doing the acquisition to build that relationship. And even if you don't have experience doing dozens and dozens of deals, just that time being on the phone with the seller, or better yet, being in their living room, that's going to arm you with the tools you need to know. So it might not seem like you're credible a year from now, but if every single day of the week for the next year you're in a seller's living room, or you're on the phone with them, what are you going to seem like in a year from now? Because it's an investment into yourself, and it's a free one. You just have to spend the time being on the phone.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. You got to get out there. You've got to be vulnerable a little bit, and you just got to take that massive imperfect action. It doesn't feel comfortable. I remember when I was buying a house, or I was looking to buy a house, and this is like when I very first started, right? And I was in the house with the seller, and I did the wholesaler conversation. I completely botched it. It was terrible, right? Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying my best, and at the end of the appointment, the seller put her hand on my shoulder, and so she said, you did okay. So I must have, like, exuded just being a complete amateur. But you know what? Then I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again. So yeah, that's awesome, man. Really, really, really good feedback there. What other type of gold nuggets do you have, or what's some fun, like, examples you might be able to provide? Or let me ask this a little bit better. What's something crazy or unique or different that you've guys done for a seller to be able to help them during the process when you're buying a house from them?
Yeah, so this is another thing that I offer to everybody. And some people like it, some people don't, because some people are more protective over their personal possessions than others. And this is another thing I'm giving the game away, because I think I'm the only one that does this.
Bam,
Offer
here we go. Ring the bell.
to pay for every single seller to move. And
Wow.
normally they're moving locally, so you're talking less than $1,000, and we price it into our profit margin so that we're able to help them and we can cover it, so we're not risking too much on it. We will offer to every single seller that we will pay to help them move.
Wow. Wow. So are you doing that? Do you have a strategic partnership with a moving company that's doing that, or what does that look like?
So a little backstory behind that is we had a seller on a house. He was Malaysian. So she didn't have family here. She didn't have any kids. It was just herself living here in a big 2,500 square foot 4-bed house, and it's got all her stuff in it. And she's got a convenience store in another town, and she's moving closer to it because she lives an hour away from where she runs her convenience store. So I get to thinking, I'm like, how is this lady going to move all this stuff? So I
Mm,
asked her, do you need help moving? And she said, yeah, I do. And I was like, okay, well, we'll pay for it. And I was just riffing, like I never heard that
yeah.
before. Nobody else is doing that. And so then I thought, okay, we obviously will have a due diligence period like any other real estate transaction. During the
Sure.
due diligence period, I will just work on scheduling movers, and I'll call a couple companies around. I don't have a specific strategic partner because you have to be flexible on time frames. And I just offer to
Right.
everybody, and I say, hey, usually it works with elderly sellers that don't have a support network around them, because they really need that help. They're moving maybe to assisted living, and maybe they don't even have a storage unit. We've even offered people to pay for the first year of their storage unit if they need help with that, because nobody's doing it. You have to separate yourself in what you can provide that nobody else does, and that's a big one that we're doing. And
That is big.
a lot of people don't take it up, like I said, because they don't want strangers handling their stuff. But the people that do want it, it can be enough to push them over the edge to go with you. Just knowing that, number one, they don't have to do anything with the transaction. You handle it. You're
Mm.
paying for the title work. You're dealing with the title company. All you do is tell them what day they have to show up and what day they're closing, and they're going to walk out with a check. And a lot of people really appreciate that.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. No, I have not heard that. I've been in situations with sellers where, I'm there helping them move, but I really, really like that. That's fantastic. I mean, so that's great, man. So what's the year looking like for you? What's on the horizon for you? Any fun projects? Are you just keeping your head down, buying and selling homes, or what does that look like for you?
Well, we're starting to branch out a little bit more in our strategies. So we're
Okay.
doing a couple flips right now. A couple of them are flips that are novations. A couple of them are ones that we're going on title and taking it down.
Okay.
We've got partners, including you, that we work with on some of these transactions. So
Yeah.
great network of people around us to work on that. One of the crazier ones we're doing is we bought 2.2 acres that is currently zoned residential, and we're moving it to rezone it multifamily with approved plans for multifamily projects. So
Okay.
we're
Awesome.
doing land, we're flipping some land now too. That'll be a big one for us. So we're starting to diversify a little bit without trying to get too far away from our bread and butter. We'll
Sure.
move our singles and doubles and triples, and we'll keep the home runs and grand slams for ourselves.
Bam. Love it. Is that all here local though too? Or when you say expanding, you're talking about these other strategies, or are you talking about you're going into other markets as well?
I mean, we've done transactions as far as Oklahoma City. We will eventually move into other markets, probably not that one specifically. But that's within the next calendar year for us that we're planning on moving our operation into other markets. So.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's cool, man. Well, yeah, sounds like you got a lot going on, a lot of growth, a lot of moving pieces. Sounds like you guys are absolutely crushing it. Love the strategies, love the approach, love the heart behind it. Really, really appreciate you coming on, man. Where could anybody find you if they wanted to connect with you, just reach out to you? I know you're a huge go-giver. Everyone that comes on this podcast, fortunately enough, is just a big go-giver. So where can people find you and connect with you?
They can get me on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram under Marquis Gabriel, Marquis with a Y, and Facebook just under my name, Mark Gabriel. Send me a message. If you got a deal you need help on, even if I'm not getting paid through it, I'll give recommendations, tell you what I think you need to do to close it. We're on May 1st. We've already done 28 deals this year, so we can help. We can help you move your deal. We can help you lock it up if you need it. Whatever people need, they can find me at those places, and then we'll help.
Bam. That's awesome, man. And we will put that in the show notes as well where people can connect with you. Or if you guys are looking for properties or deals, Mark can absolutely be a source to help probably connect you with deals as well. So we'll leave that information in the show notes. And we always like to add value and lead with value. So I'm also going to put a motivated seller script template into the show notes as well. You guys can take a look at that. It's definitely kind of right along the lines of what you're talking about, Mark, is this relationship. And don't forget, the fourth Tuesday of every month, guys, we have a live in-person meetup from our Fun Flip Repeat Facebook group that we meet belly to belly and shake each other's hands, talk deals. It's a lot of fun. So make sure to check that out, and we'll put that in the show notes as well. With that, I will sign off here. Mark, again, thank you so much. You are the man.
Thanks, Joel. You're a staple in the community. Really excited about it.
Thanks, man.